Well, yeah, okay. Well, hello there. I'm glad you're all here, but before we even begin with this diddly, it would be prudent for us to go ahead and address a few things about Dante's Inferno prior to this presentation. These are serious allegations about a very respected piece of literature, so we should deal with them right away. They are known as things students hate about Dante's Inferno. Number 1. Dante's Inferno was written a long time ago and in Italian.
Mozzarella!
Number 2. It is very, very long.
That's what she said?
And number 3. For a piece of literature that is part of something called the Divine Comedy, it just isn't very funny. And that's where we come in. With the author, Dante Alighieri. It's hard to pronounce his last name, so he's more often referred to as just Dante. Now, Dante was born circa 1265 in Florence, Italy.
I'm an old fella!
He was betrothed to his future wife when he was only 12 years old, but he accidentally fell in love with another woman named Beatrice. They never became an item, and in 1290 she died. Dante suffered terribly.
What am I gonna do?
And buried his grief by becoming politically active. Now, if you've seen even one episode of The Sopranos, you know Italian politics are difficult.
You can act like a man! What's the matter with you?
And before long, he'd made many enemies around Florence, and he was exiled. He wandered the countryside and eventually began writing what would become his greatest work, La Divina Commedia, or the Divine Comedy. Now think of the Divine Comedy as a huge work with 3 main divisions: Inferno, which we're studying, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. For those of you unaware of old school church canon, these were believed to be your 3 options when you died: Hell, Purgatory, or Paradise. Now these 3 main divisions were then comprised of smaller parts called cantos. Each division had 33 of them. So, one work, the Divine Comedy, 3 divisions, Hell, Purgatory, and Paradise, with 33 cantos apiece, plus an introduction that was 1 canto. That equals 100 cantos. And the reason there's so much blasted mouth in this film about literature is that numbers and numerology were important to this work. I won't bore you with any more, but keep those in the back of your brains in case we run into them later. Okay, enough of this introductory foolishness. Time to get on with the literature. The Inferno is Dante's idea of what hell will be like. Dante wrote that hell would be made up of different circles, 9 of them in all, which formed a big winding funnel. Ding! He also thought that sinners in hell would be dealt a punishment that was very fitting for their sins. This is called symbolic retribution. You'll see what I mean later. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Inferno is a poem made up of cantos, 33 to be exact, with 1 canto at the beginning providing an introduction. That's 34 cantos, and nothing short of an Animaniacs hoedown could get us through them all expeditiously. Oh, that reminds me. The number 1 thing students love about Dante's Inferno, Mr. Announcer Man? That's right, they can use the word hell in class. Oh dear. Here we go. Ding! Canto 1 is an introduction to all of the Divine Comedy. Dante gets lost while walking in the woods. He's 35 years old, which is half the biblical age of man. He encounters 3 terrible beasts, which will not let him pass. Suddenly, a man appears in front of him.
Who the heck are you?
Hello, I am the ghost of Virgil, the 1st century BC Roman poet, and I'll be your tour guide through hell. I represent human reason, and I'll protect you from all those bad mama jambas down under. Now, if you'll follow me, please watch your step. The first place Dante and Virgil arrive is at the gate of hell. Before he even enters eternal damnation, Dante notices that there are a lot of people outside waiting around. It's a lot like the DMV, but the people punished here are in hell because they made no choices. They did not follow God nor Satan, so they're stuck waiting outside the gate. Now, Virgil and Dante have to cross the river Styx to enter Hell. Fortunately, there's a ferry service, and the captain is a demon named Charon. Virgil gets tickets and whips Charon into shape. "Oh, down, you big demon of hell!" And off they go. There's a pretty stiff wind smelling of you-know-what, and Dante passes out. When Dante wakes up, he finds himself in the second circle of hell. Ding! Now, note that circles are symbolic too. Here Dante sees Minos, who is the acting judge of hell. Minos has a long tail, and as the dead souls arrive in hell, Minos decides where they will spend their eternal damnation. He wraps his tail around the center one time for each circle of hell, and then slings them off into the darkness. Once again, Virgil has to protect Dante from a demon. "Get away, you silly fiend!" And Minos allows the pair of poets to continue. Dante notices that the souls in this part of hell have been damned for their lustfulness. The punishment, apparently, for being too lustful is to forever be tormented and torn apart by a howling wind. Now, this part is important. Dante begins to recognize some of the people in hell. "Hey, I know you!" And he points them out to the reader. Big deal, you might say, but then again, imagine if someone these days made a movie about hell and then casually started talking about people he found in hell, especially politicians and people who committed adultery. Go figure. Anyway, Dante starts talking to a pair of lovers who share a wicked story about how they got caught boinking each other, but their punishment for this act is so brutal that, once again, Dante passes out. Ding! Wow, we skipped almost to the end. Now, Dante and Virgil in Canto 33 are in the darkest, deepest part of hell, the ninth circle. I should point out that Dante has ordered the sins of the condemned in hell from least to greatest, and it's most important to note that Dante didn't think adultery and lust were as bad as the greatest sin found in the ninth level of hell. Betrayal. Here's another surprise. Dante imagined that this level of hell would be absolutely frozen in ice. Now, do you know all of the things that can happen now that hell has frozen over? Wow! Anyway, Dante sees several gruesome things here, including one dude who is frozen into the ground and who is literally gnawing on the brain of the guy beside him who betrayed him in his previous life. Now, miraculously, Dante doesn't pass out, so they keep going. Ding! Up ahead, in this last canto of the Inferno, Dante and Virgil finally arrive at the biggest mumbo jumbo of them all, Satan. Lucifer is a huge, towering demon. They pause to admire Satan, who was once a beautiful angel in heaven. You may want to take a picture. This lowest of low levels of hell is named Judeca, after Judas Iscariot, the man who in the New Testament betrayed Jesus Christ for 30 pieces of silver. They find Judas along with two other important traitors, Cassius and Brutus, you know, the guys who helped get rid of Julius Caesar. And these three are suffering the worst punishment of all. They are being eternally chewed to death in the mouth of Satan himself. After that, Virgil speaks up. "Now that you've seen the big attraction, Mr. Satan, it's time to make our way back to the gift shop. Okay, hold on please, let's go." Virgil and Dante actually climb down the hairy back of Satan, and in a super weird shift of time, gravity, and space, down becomes up, and they make it out of hell to find that it is morning, dawn on Easter Day. They move on to purgatory, but that's a different story now, isn't it? So, my friends, there is a quick-witted look at Dante's own vision of hell, the Inferno. With apologies to all the circles in between, I hope you've enjoyed the first and last parts, and that you're encouraged to read about the parts of hell we skipped. That way you'll be sure not to end up there. As I always like to say, music may tame the savage beast, but Dante, well, Dante knew he'd need Virgil's help. Oh, hell!